For the better part of the 2021 season, the Toronto Blue Jays were flirting around 500. They were a hot and cold team that would struggle to put together more than 3 consecutive wins. Through August, they were 7 games over. Not bad, but not good enough to be considered legit playoff contenders. The fact that they were even in the discussion to begin with was mainly due to their potent offense led by a slew of young talented second-generation baseball players, names most baseball fans became familiar with by the end of last season. Couple their emerging stars with bona fide veteran pickups, and Toronto has had one of the best offenses in the league. However, because of subpar pitching and a lackluster bullpen, the team wasn't living up to their potential. In a majority of their games, they'd either win big in a blowout or lose close in a shootout. But after a scorching hot start to September, the Blue Jays have found new life and are now right in the thick of an intense wildcard race. There are several key reasons for their resurgence, from the 180 of their disappointing pitching staff to the surprising play of some of their offensive talents. That and oh yeah, this guy doing Triple Crown things. So let's take a look into how the Jays have gone from a borderline wildcard team playing in Buffalo to a bona fide playoff contender finally playing in front of their home fans again. And let's see why I think if they can just clinch a wildcard spot, they can make a shock run at a World Series title. Real quick, before we start, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more weekly videos. With MLB playoffs coming up, there's a lot of exciting baseball left to be played. So to stay updated, make sure to click on that red button and ring the bell to stay notified. And while you're here, feel free to check out my video on the baffling season of the San Diego Padres. And without further ado, let's get started. To truly understand this team, let's first look at the aforementioned offense and see how they morphed into the complete juggernaut they are now. Heading into this season, there was no doubt what the best part of the Toronto team would be. In 2020, the Blue Jays had a top 10 offense led by young talented prospects that helped carry them to a wildcard appearance. Everybody knows Vlad Guerrero Jr., the son of Hall of Famer Vlad Sr. His potential was sky high and the hype was through the roof when he was called up in 2019. And after some rookie struggles, he finally started to live up to the hype in 2020. But Vladdy was surrounded by a few other great young baseball lifers that formed the nucleus of the future for the Blue Jays. There was Cavan Biggio, son of recent Hall of Famer Craig Biggio, Bo Bichette, son of perennial All-Star Dante Bichette, and Lourdes Gurriel, brother of All-Star Yuli Gurriel. Add to that the outstanding play of Silver Slugger Teoscar Hernandez, and they already had an elite offense before this season even started. Looking to capitalize on the talent that was years away from being eligible for a pay raise, the Blue Jays went all in this winter by adding 2 veteran pieces to complement the young core. Their first move was acquiring infielder Marcus Semien to a 1-year, $18 million deal. Semien had an amazing season in 2019 in which he had an OPS of .892 to go with 33 homers and 92 RBIs en route to a 3rd place MVP finish. The 1-year deal was essentially a flyer to see if he could replicate that success or if his numbers will fall more in line with his career averages. The bigger addition for them though was when they beat out the Mets to sign outfielder George Springer to a franchise record 6-year, $150 million contract. Springer had established himself as one of the best outfielders in the game, a perennial all-star known for his postseason heroics and absolutely nothing else. With Springer and Semien setting the table for at least 1 year, the offense was set to be even more elite than it was in 2020. And it was. Semien, Vlad, Bichette, and Hernandez carried the offense for a better part of 3 months, and each of them were rewarded with a first-time All-Star appearance. Marcus hit homers at a prodigious rate with over 20 long balls by the All-Star break, while Bichette and Hernandez continued their amazing hitting, with both guys hitting around 300. But of those 4, it was Vladdy Jr. that carried the most heft of the All-Star bunch. The former #1 prospect in baseball has been on fire for essentially the entire season. Many people expected him to be really good one day, but not as soon as right now. Yet Vlad has catapulted himself into MVP contention by lighting it up on all facets of offense. His .315 average, .404 on base percentage, .607 slugging, 45 homers, 103 RBIs, and 1011 OPS are all first on the team. He is by far the best hitter on a stacked offense at only 22 years old, and he's in contention for an historic Triple Crown. His only competition is two-way superstar Shohei Ohtani, and Ohtani's early edge has faded a bit, while Vladdy has only gotten better as the season's progressed. While the offense has been amazing this season, the Jays did have to deal with a few big injuries. First, it was Springer, who has been on and off the IL this year, missing 48 of Toronto's first 115 games with oblique and leg injuries, and then missing another 2 weeks with a knee sprain in August. When healthy, George is one of the best hitters on the team, but his health has been a major concern in his first year with the team. Then, in early August, Cavan was placed on the IL with a nagging back issue. Biggio has had a down season this year, hitting only .215 in 77 games. but with back and neck tightness limiting his playing time, he might just be too banged up to contribute. I mean, just imagine how much better this Blue Jays lineup could be with the full season worth of games from a healthy Biggio and Springer. I think that would be illegal. Because even without those two contributing as they normally could, the Toronto offense is out of this world. As a team, they are first in home runs, RBIs, slugging, and OPS, while coming second in runs and averages. They have 5 players who have hit over 20 home runs, and it could be 7 with Gurriel currently at 19 and Springer at 17 due to the amount of games he's missed. To have 7 players in your starting 9 that can all hit for power is something most teams can only dream of, and it's one of the many reasons why their offense is so feared. As the season has gone on and the injured players have returned to form, the offense is now in a whole different stratosphere. With Springer back healthy for the stretch September run, the team has exploded. They're routinely putting up 6, 8, even 10 and 11 run games. And they even had a 22-7 beatdown of the lowly Orioles after scoring 22 in 2 7-inning games against them the day before. That's 44 runs and 23 innings against one team for those who are counting. The next day, they followed that up with an 8-1 win against the division-leading Rays. All in all, as of this video's recording, the Blue Jays have gone 13-2 in September and have scored an astonishing 8 runs per game. That clip cannot possibly be expected to continue for the rest of the year, but it's just a glimpse into how good their bats can be when things are clicking. Even without this amazing stretch of offense, the Jays are still 3rd in the league with 5.28 runs per game. So how on earth does a team with this potent of an offense not lead their own division? Well, when the pitching has been as inconsistent as theirs has been during the year, then that's how. Unlike their offense, at the start of the season there were many question marks on this Toronto staff. They returned 4 of their 5 starters from last season for this year, with Hyunjin Ryu returned for the 3rd year of his 4-year contract, Tanner Roark signing a new 2-year deal, and Ross Stripling and Robbie Ray both inking 1-year return flyers. To fill in the last starter spot, Toronto traded for Steven Matz while also hoping that one of their young pitchers like Alex Manoah would stake a claim for that spot. But early on, things went pretty bad for this makeshift unit. Roark struggled immensely in his first 3 starts and promptly got DFA'd. Matz also struggled to assimilate into his new club, Ryu declined in form sharply, and Stripling has been stripling. That's 80% of their rotation in shambles. Things got even worse when they lost their newfound closer Jordan Romano to injury. Without him, the team had no reliable closer, so they had to do the job by committee. And for a team that was already struggling with its starting pitching, not having a shutdown arm coming out of the pen hurt them a lot. The rest of the bullpen has been okay, as they have a team bullpen ERA of 4 and a whip of 1.27, both middle of the pack. But they only have 29 saves in total, with Romano accounting for 17 of them, good for 5th worst. When Romano is healthy though, that solves the bullpen part. It's a starting pitching issue that was looking pretty unsolvable at times. With 4/5 of the original staff in flames, they needed at least one guy to step up. Enter Robbie Ray, the unlikely ace of this staff and one of the best pitchers in the MLB in 2021. The biggest bright spot in their staff has been a revelation this year. Ray always had potential, as seen by his 2017 campaign with the Diamondbacks, one in which he had a 2.89 ERA, 1.15 whip, 218 strikeouts, and 12 Ks per 9 innings. That last mark led the league and has been Robbie's biggest asset in his career, the ability to strike out hitters with ease. But aside from 2017, Ray's career has been marred by control issues. Walks had always come back to haunt Robbie, especially in 2020 when he walked 7.8 batters per 9 in 51.2 innings. That type of walk rate can end a career, even for a guy like Ray, who actually holds the MLB record with 11.2 Ks per 9 for his career. So after signing a 1-year deal, the Blue Jays probably didn't expect much from Robbie, and rightfully so. However, he has shocked both Toronto and the baseball world by finding the best form of his career. As of now, Ray has a 2.69 ERA, 220 strikeouts, and career highs in a 1.02 whip, 7 hits per 9, and only 2.3 walks per 9. The low walk rate is especially surprising, as well as the fact that he's continued his stellar strikeout rate doing so. All of this has culminated in his best year to date, and he's been the improbable backbone to the Toronto staff. Even though Ray has had an incredible Cy Young caliber season, it wasn't enough to carry the rest of the staff early on. Without their reliable closer and with the rest of the rotation suffering, the Blue Jays lost a lot of winnable games, and those tight shootout losses were going the wrong way more often than not. But as the season progressed and the Jays were still within wildcard contention, the team made their one big trade deadline move to help bolster their rotation. Before the deadline, they sent 3 prospects to the Twins in exchange for Jose Berrios. One of the better young pitchers in the league, Berrios has plenty of experience to go along with some pretty nasty stuff. While his numbers don't scream ace level, he's capable of being a bona fide second or third starter on a playoff team. By acquiring Berrios, along with some other bullpen pieces like Joakim Soria and Adam Simber, Toronto addressed their biggest needs, another starter and more bullpen help. Berrios has been excellent so far with the Jays, and in 9 starts he has a 3.3 ERA and a 1.18 WHIP. His presence has now given the team a solid 5-man rotation in Ray, Berrios, Manoah, Ryu, and Matz. Ray and Manoah have been stellar, Berrios has been very solid, and even Matz has rebounded in the second half. If Ryu can bounce back to form before the playoffs start, then the Jays may have one of the better staffs come October. So by the end of August, things were all rounding into form for the Blue Jays. They had their important injured players returning in Springer and Romano to go along with the top 2 offense of the league and a much improved pitching staff. On August 31st, they were 4.5 games out of the second wildcard spot, and much need of a run to make it to October. Well, they've done just that, and this time it's been a total team effort. The team is doubling their opponent's runs over a 2-week stretch due to their offense scoring 8 runs per and their improved pitching only giving up 4. What's even more impressive is that they're winning a lot of those close shootout games, something they struggled with throughout the season. In fact, they're actually 5-0 in 1-run games during the stretch, which bodes really well for their future prospects come playoff time. By winning 8 games in a row and 13 out of 15, they quickly made up the 4.5 game deficit and are now tied for the first wildcard spot. With one of the best offenses in the league, a rising rotation, and a dependable bullpen, things are looking pretty sunny north of the border. They've managed to salvage their season while also setting themselves up for future playoff runs. It's a perfect mix of short-term contention and long-term team management that most teams strive for. If they do make the wildcard though, they'll most likely have to go against one of their division rivals. And we know how cruel the wildcard game can be. For your entire 162 game season to come down to 1 game. It's a tough ask, especially against a familiar foe that might know you better than most other playoff teams. But if they clinch that wildcard spot, I could see them winning the wildcard game, and then after that, all bets are off. With either Ray, Manoah, Berrios, or Ryu pitching, they can easily win 1 game due to their high-scoring lineup. They have a top 3 offense in the league, led by a Triple Crown MVP candidate, a bunch of elite youngsters, and some wily vets, all of whom can hit for average as well as for homers. That's the type of team that can win it all in October. And in recent weeks, they've shown that they can match up with the best teams in the league, including the Rays, who would be their opponent if they make it out of the wildcard game. You never know, we've seen other teams get hot in September and make an unforeseen World Series run. See the 2007 Rockies as an example. Whatever unfolds over the next few weeks, the Blue Jays transform themselves from a one-dimensional offensive-reliant team to a well-rounded squad with pitching depth. And because of that, I think their future, along with their present, is among the brightest for any team in the majors. It may sound like clickbait, but I truly do believe that the Blue Jays could make a World Series run this year. Once you're in the playoffs, you've got a chance, even as a wildcard team. We've seen it before and we'll see it again. And this time around, Toronto might be the one to shock the world.